Hi guys, good evening. Welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I will be giving you guys my Season 2 review of the hit Netflix series Stranger Things, which premiered a week ago on Netflix, all 9 episodes now streaming on Netflix, and I just finished watching it the other night, and so enjoyable, so damn good. Really, really solid stuff. Now, before I go on and I keep blabbering on and on, of course, and I keep talking too much, please be warned that this video review will be full of massive spoilers regarding Season 2 of Stranger Things. So if you're currently watching Season 2 or or you haven't even seen Season 1 for some reason because you're insane, if you're currently watching Season 2 and you're not finished yet, do not keep watching or listening as I will be discussing massive spoilers. So you have been warned. And if you are finished watching Season 2, then please keep watching and listening, as I hope you find what I have to say amusing, if not somewhat insightful. That being said, this was such a great season. Such a strong show. I think one of the best things about this show is just the characters are so damn likable. They are so likable, super relatable, and you just can't help but love them. We fell in love with these characters in Season 1, and Season 2 only added more fuel to the fire, so to speak. This season made us love these characters even more because we got a little bit more backstory with some of them. Some of them progressed and really developed. Some of them, had interesting overall season arcs that will hopefully move on into Season 3, which I believe is currently being worked on. I mean, they'd be crazy not to do a third season because the show is so popular and it did really well in the ratings. And I know it's a streaming show, but I think once they added up all the numbers to see how many people tuned in their Netflix accounts to watch, it was a pretty astonishing number. Oh man, it was good. So good. I think some of my highlights would have to be, I love in the first episode, the opening episode, it establishes the time jump. It's been about a year. Life has somewhat returned to normal. I love how in the first episode, it's kind of like in a fun creature feature or an 80s horror movie where you've got the small town police chief or sheriff, and it's Halloween is right around the corner. Things are pretty slow at the station, and then he gets a call or a complaint about something like rotten or infected pumpkins. And that immediately right there for all of us is a red flag indicating that there's something going on with the Upside Down, or there's some other dark power or forces at work. And that is exactly what the first episode did. It immediately established that the Upside Down is not done with Hawkins, Indiana, and with Will Byers. And I love how when the chief is first responding to it, his response is very lax. He doesn't seem that concerned about it. But as the episode goes along, he grows increasingly concerned that this could be a serious problem. And like I said, I just love the fact how the first episode is like the opening act of a creature feature where you've got the police chief responding to some kind of weird complaint or call. In this case, rotten infected pumpkins. And, I absolutely loved that. What else I really enjoyed is the Ghostbusters and Gremlins reference. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the whole storyline with Dustin finding the baby Demogorgon in the trash and then hiding it from his mom, keeping it in his turtle aquarium, and then the more he feeds it, the more it grows. I felt like it was extremely reminiscent of Gremlins with the whole don't feed them after midnight thing, and how it continues to grow and become more aggressive and bigger and whatnot. And I just really, really enjoyed that. Plus, I thought it was an awesome little side story for Dustin until it became like one of the main vocal points of the season storyline overall. And I gotta say, I am so delighted, so pleased that my two favorites, Hopper and Dustin, got so much screen time and so much character development this season. I already fell in love with them back in Season 1, and now, like I said, this season made me fall in love with them all over again, because the characters are so damn likable and they're so well acted by these amazing actors and actresses, especially these kids. These kids are amazing. These child actors, just, they make you cry, they make you laugh, they make you smile. You know, they really pluck at your heartstrings in the best and worst way possible, and I'll get to that in a minute. But excuse me. But yeah, I loved the screen time. I feel like for some reason Hopper and Dustin both got so much more screen time they did this season than they did last season. Unless I need to do a rewatch, which I'm thinking about doing a back-to-back rewatch of season 1 and 2, just immediately back-to-back, because that'd be a fun marathon. But yeah, this was such a great season, and you know, like I said, one of the things I loved in terms of character development is that, you know, what I was hoping they weren't going to do is that I was hoping that they wouldn't have Steve revert back to his old nasty ways of being a prick or the school bully, but instead, you know, he's kind of like come a long way, and he had a brief relationship with Nancy. Things didn't work out between them, but he didn't change after that. He didn't go back to being a total dick. He stayed, for the moment at least, he's still being a fairly decent guy. Like, he struck up this awesome friendship and relationship with Dustin. They go hunting for Dart together. They, you know, become trusted allies and somewhat confidants. And Steve is giving him tips on how to talk to girls and how to get Max to notice him and whatnot. And I also loved how, when I realized what was about to happen in the season finale, I loved how I'm like, oh yes, Steve is going to be the one to kick this jerk's ass. When that prick Billy showed up, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what Billy has coming to him. He's going to get his ass handed to him by Steve, much like how Steve had his ass handed to him by Will's older brother last season. And I really enjoyed that. That was satisfying to watch. I love seeing Billy taking a beating, because that guy is a prick. He is a nasty little racist prick. Although it was quite amusing to see this sort of weird seduction scene between him and Nancy's mom in the season finale. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Okay. But anyway, I gotta say, overall, I just enjoyed the season so much. And regarding the somewhat polarizing episode, apparently, from what I read, a lot of people have had problems with episode 7, where Elle briefly goes to Chicago and reunites with her sister, the other girl who was almost experimented upon. I thought that was a great episode. That was a great story. I don't know what people's problem is with it. Is it because most of the cast wasn't included, and that 11 just like made a quick brief pit stop in Chicago and then went back to Hawkins? I mean, is that what bothered people? Personally, it didn't bother me. I thought it was a nice little story for 11. And I get some people have a problem with 11's backstory, but I personally really enjoyed it. I liked learning more about her. And one of the reasons is because 11 is a great character, and she's one of the characters we fell in love with last season, and now we learned that much more about her. I mean, I thought it was a fine episode, and then everything else about this season was just great. I loved how they got the justice for Barb. You know, we were all wondering how exactly justice was going to be served, because you can't go around telling people, especially her parents or the public, yeah, she was killed by the Demogorgon. Everybody's like, huh? What? Oh, let me rephrase that. She was killed by a monster from another dimension. Right. But I loved how they used the evidence that they did collect, and you know, that's how they served justice for Barb, and they finally shut down the lab, the Hawkins lab. Unfortunately, that did shut down the Upside Down, as we saw that the Shadow Monster and the Upside Down is still very much alive and present. And now that brings me to the season finale. I absolutely loved the season finale. I think that was the most powerful we had ever seen 11, like just screaming with the nosebleed and just using all of her strength and power to close the gate between the Upside Down and our dimension. I loved the season finale. I loved how it ended, and I loved how it had a feel-good, solid, happy ending to it, where everybody could finally move on with their lives. The only complaint I had was I felt so bad for poor Dustin during the snowball, because this whole time, he goes in there all confident, ready to ask girls to dance, and none of them want to dance with him. And later we see him crying, and then Nancy, bless her heart, dances with them, and that really lifts his spirits, and that was really sweet of her. But for me personally, because it was reminiscent of like mostly middle school but high school dances where I was in Dustin's shoes, that was a bit too close to home for me, at least. I mean, it was just it was a bit uncomfortable. But I think that was one of the points of this episode, or that's the point of the show, is to make these characters relatable enough where we feel comfortable or not so comfortable. Maybe that's why they do it. But with the exception of poor Dustin being rejected by every girl at the dance, which I really hated, and I felt so bad for him. I love the season finale. And which also reminds me, speaking of heartbreak, I love the episode where the demo dogs have taken over the lab and they're trying to get out of there. And Bob, played by the wonderful Sean Astin, is basically risking his skin to save everybody. And right as it happened, right after Joyce is waiting for him at the entrance of the lab, and he comes out of the hallway, and they both see each other. They share a quick smile as they glance at one another. I immediately said to myself, this is a little too good to be true. Something's going to happen to Bob. And sure enough, a demo dog pounces on him and starts ripping into him. Oh, that was horrible. I was just like, oh, no, not Bob. I'm watching my TV set. I'm like, oh, Bob, why? And then it occurred to me, well, they have to have at least one major death this season, and since we didn't lose any of our main characters, we lost our temporary season character, which is too bad because Bob and Joyce made a pretty good couple, and Bob seemed like a stand-up, overall great guy. But at least his death was not in vain, because his girlfriend and his friends all made it out of there alive, and they lived to fight another day against the Upside Down, against the Demogorgons. Well, guys, that is my season review for Stranger Things Season 2. All 9 episodes currently streaming on Netflix. Unfortunately, there is no word regarding a release date for Season 3. I do believe Season 3 is being worked on. I believe this show has a plan for at least 4 or 5 seasons total. If I had to guess, maybe we'll get 2 more seasons out of it, so seasons 3 and 4. But hopefully they'll give us more, because I think we all want more. All right, guys, have a great rest of the night. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more episode review videos like this one, and to be sure to check back tomorrow night for my episode review of the latest episode of AMC's The Walking Dead, premiering with a new episode tomorrow night. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for stopping by, and of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.